Hello students, welcome to Smart Kids Tutorials. In the previous video we had seen about the solenoid and how current passes through when it passes through a straight conductor and through a circular conductor, there is a magnetic field that is generated. Now we will look at how the force acts on a current carrying conductor when a magnet is brought close to it. Let's have a look. So it says we have these two videos over here, and these two videos are actually explaining how a force will act on a current carrying conductor. Now what it says is that an electric current flows through a conductor, produces magnetic field. We have learnt about this whenever an electric current passes through a conductor, there is a magnetic field generated around it. Okay, and in this we will look at how the electric current actually generates that field, and we'll see how it reacts with a magnet in close proximity to that, when the magnet is very close to it. So an electric current flowing through a conductor produces a magnetic field. This field will exert a force on a magnet. Okay, so you have see, if you notice over here, there is a person who is explaining, and there's a battery over here. The battery has two terminals, one is positive, one is negative out here, and I'll show you over here. This is the battery, this and you have your on and off switch over here, and there is this terminal like this. This is a positive terminal. Similarly, you have your negative terminal over here, and this is a battery. That battery has two wires which are connected to a conducting element, that means current carrying conductor, and it is placed in close proximity to the magnet. This is the magnet. Okay, however, the magnet over here that you can see is placed north south north, but in fact here it is placed north and south. So first the experiment begins by north south, and what is seen in this case is when the electric current passes through these wires, through this conductor that you can see. This is a current carrying conductor. There's a horseshoe magnet placed over there, and when the current passes through this conductor, through these wires, through the conductor which is placed between, it moves towards the right. There's a deflection towards the right. In case of this one, this is an experiment that is done reverse of this particular experiment. In this case, the horseshoe magnet was placed north to south. Here it is placed south to west. And when it is the orientation of that magnet is reversed, we see that it is getting deflected towards the left once the current passes through it. See, as soon as it is switched on, it moves to the left, and when it is switched off, it will go back to its original position towards the right. Here, in this case, when the current is switched on, the conductor gets deflected towards the right. You'll be able to see this. Okay, so what is actually happening in this case? Here we have a look. It's getting deflected towards the right, and once it is switched off, it's back to zero. In this case, what is happening is that the current that is passing through it is exerting force onto the magnet. Through the current is passing through these wires, through that conductor, and a field is generated around this particular conductor that you can see, which is between, see, and that field is exerting a force onto the horseshoe magnet. In return, the magnet is exerting a particular force onto the conductor. Hence, you can see the deflection that is taking place in this case. As soon as it is on, it gets deflected to the right. Once it is switched off, it moves to the right. Okay. So in this case, basically what is happening is it is following Fleming's left hand rule. Now in this left hand rule, we have three different things pointing at right angles towards each other. Okay, and what we see is if we hold our left hand and the first three fingers, okay, I hope you can see it. Okay, here. Okay, now have a look. They are all at 90 degrees to each other, and the thumb points to the force, the direction of the force, and the index finger points towards the direction of the magnetic field line, and this middle finger shows you the direction of the current. So if you notice over here that they are all at 90 degrees towards each other, is this more like a three-dimensional figure? This stands for force, this is for the magnetic field or the magnet, and this will be for the current. Okay, and that is exactly what is seen over here. If you notice in this case, okay, this is actually downwards, wherein the magnetic field is south to west. Basically, when you say the force, the current in this case, I'll show you this part. Here in this case, we have north to south. Okay, so north to south means you have your current which is upwards, sorry, flowing downwards. The current is flowing downwards, which means the magnetic field line is this way. That's why you have the magnetic field line here. I'll just, okay, the magnetic field line is this way, and your force is acting this way. Or if you take the north south direction, that is upwards, that means the magnetic field line is upwards, as you see in this case, but this is southwest, so this will be down. Okay, this way. I hope we can show you this way here. So in this case, it is actually this way, down. This is the magnetic field, southwest, and that means the force will be towards your right, this way. You're pushing you out this way. Have a look at this one. See? So which means it is, the needle is getting reflected that way, and the force is acting in the opposite direction. We'll have a look at this one. So that is the Fleming's left hand thumb rule. We'll look at it in the next slide, but this arrangement follows the Fleming's left hand rule, and if you have a look, it will be over here. So here you have north to south direction, and it's getting deflected towards the right. So this is Fleming's left hand thumb rule, wherein I was talking about a thumb being in the upward direction, the force being in the upward direction, represented by the thumb. You have the middle finger, or the sorry, not the middle finger, the index finger, or not the index finger, the forefinger, and that is the magnetic field. It represents the magnetic field. And you have the middle finger, which is at right angle to the forefinger, and that is representing the current. This is known as Fleming's left hand rule. It was invented by John Ambrose Fleming, hence the name Fleming's left hand thumb rule. So to do this, as I told you, you have to stretch the thumb, okay, then your forefinger, take it this way, and then your middle finger pointing towards you. You see? So if you hold it this way, then the middle finger will point towards you. The thumb represents the force or the motion, forefinger represents the magnetic field, and the middle finger represents the current, all perpendicular to each other. Now, devices that work under this principle are electric motors, then you have loudspeakers, microphones, measuring instruments. Coming to electric motor. An electric motor is a device that converts electrical energy to mechanical energy. So it uses electricity to and gets it converted to mechanical energy to perform its function, to run the motor. Applications include electric fans, refrigerators, mixers, washing machines, so on. Coming to the parts of an electric motor. Now in this, from the exam point of view, you need to know what certain parts do. Certain parts are very important, and need to know the rough working of an electric motor. Now what does it consist of? You'll see different things out here. So it consists of an insulated copper wire. You can see over here this is a wire that's moving around, that's a insulated copper wire. Then it has got magnetic poles north and south that helps to create a magnetic field in between. It has got split rings. You'll be able to see the split rings actually over here. It's shown over here, but it's not very much visible here. But you'll see over here there are split rings out here. Two disjoint C-shaped rings P and Q marked over here. P and Q. It acts as a commutator. What does a commutator do? To reverse the direction of current. A commutator reverses the flow of current or reverses the direction of current. And it has got an axle. See over here the axle. This is the axle, the shaft. The split rings are placed on the axle. This you see the brown thing, these are the split ring, and these are placed on this axle, or here it is known as the shaft. Okay, and it can rotate. When it rotates this entire thing as well. Then you have brushes outside of the split rings. Where are the split rings? Over here. So the brushes are outside. Here you can see them clearly. These two are brushes on either side of the split rings. Okay, so the split ring is marked as a commutator over here, so you can see them clearly. Okay, and you have a source that is connected to the battery, that is not shown over here, but here it is shown that you have those two split rings on either side which are connected to a battery, positive terminal, negative terminal. There's a key as well to that. Okay, let's look at the working now. Now that we know the parts of the electric motor, let's look at the working. Okay, so when the current begins to flow, so current flows from positive terminal to negative. So current is flowing from here, then it will go through the brush X and Y are brushes on either side. Then from A it will move to B, from B to C, from C to D, and then to the brush Y, and then move into the battery once again to reach the negative terminal. Now if we apply the Fleming's left hand rule to wire AB, okay, then current is along AB. It's moving this way, right? It's moving from here, so it is moving in this direction, forward direction, AB. Magnetic field is shown north to south. That means the field that is generated is from this end to this end. Motion of the wire is downwards. Motion of the wire is downward. That means going down. Now applying Fleming's left hand rule to wire CD. Now the opposite will become, and what will happen is the axle or the shaft will rotate in the reverse fashion. So what will happen is you have the current this time passing through CD, going in the opposite direction, right? And the magnetic field is shown from north to south. Motion of the wire is upwards, moving towards the shaft. The rectangular coil, this is the rectangular coil, it keeps moving and it moves anti-clockwise. That means this way. A clock moves this way, right? Now in this case the rectangular coil moves anti-clockwise. During the anti-clockwise motion, the split rings and axle, split rings are these, this is the axle, okay, also move. So this is these two, there are two split rings on either side of that axle. The axle moves fine, but the split ring also move. But the brushes on either side, this X and Y, they don't move. After half a rotation, wire CD and split ring Q, there's a split ring Q over here, moves to the left. That means it reverses its position. Wire AB and split ring P moves to the right. Brushes X and Y do not move, so they are stationary. Now applying Fleming's left hand rule to the wire CD, current is along DC, this way, upward, D to C. Okay, so the motion of the wire is downwards this way. Applying Fleming's left hand rule to wire AB, current is along BA. See, now the direction has been changed, right? So the current is flowing this way, back here, here, and it will go back into X and into the shaft, into the battery out here. So there is what is positive terminal is now become negative terminal. Positive terminal is here, so the current is flowing this way now. So the clock rotates anti-clockwise because the magnetic field is north to south. So the reversal of current in the coil results in a continuous rotation of the coil. The reversal of current is achieved by the commutator. Say the commutator reverses the direction of current. So usually current flows from this positive end to the negative end, but the commutator changes it from so that it moves from D to C, C to B, B to A, and A to X, finally back to the battery. Electromagnetic induction, process by which a changing magnetic field in conductor induces a current in another conductor, is called electromagnetic induction. So we'll see what exactly electromagnetic induction means. Induction means to induce something. So there is the magnetic effect of one conductor influences that of another conductor. We'll have a look how that happens. And many experiments were carried out with on this subject by the scientist Michael Faraday. He is Michael Faraday. So he conducted a series of experiments. We classify or we break it down into just three main experiments to explain what exactly he did. to confirm electromagnetic induction. So the first in the first experiment, what he did was he took a wire and he took a bar magnet. This is the bar magnet, you can see wire wrapped around this circular cylindrical hollow cylindrical device, and it's connected to the galvanometer. Okay. So what does the galvanometer actually do? A galvanometer actually detects any current flowing through a conductor, okay, especially when the conductor is in a magnetic field. So we have a wire, we have a bar magnet, and we have a galvanometer. You see, when the magnet is moved towards the coil of wire, there is a deflection in the galvanometer. This is at 0. Wait, see how it is at 0. The moment it starts moving inside or towards the coil of wire, there is a deflection, and as it is removed out, it moves, it shows the deflection in the opposite direction. This movement of galvanometer indicates that there is current in this particular wire. So when the direction of the magnet is reversed, like now it is going from north to south, right, and there's a deflection towards the right. If this magnet is reversed, as in switch from north to south, that means now it will be south to north. The south end will go in first rather than last. Here the north end goes in first, then the south end goes later on. So if we change the direction, wherein the south pole of this magnet moves first, then you will see a change in the deflection. There will be a deflection, but it will not move towards the right, rather it will move towards the left. Okay. Now it also depends on the speed with which you move the magnet towards the coil of wire. Faster the movement, more quickly you will see a deflection, more rapid deflection. So what did this experiment actually confirm, or from what did he conclude? What did Michael Faraday conclude from this experiment? He concluded that moving a magnet towards a coil introduces a current in the coil whose direction and magnitude is given by the galvanometer. See, it shows you that when you move a piece of a bar of magnet which is from north to south, there is a deflection in the galvanometer towards the right, and when you switch the sides, that means you move the bar of magnet from south pole to north pole and that orientation towards the coil of wire, the galvanometer will get deflected towards the left. Coming to experiment number 2, in this case he didn't use a magnet, rather he used a current carrying conductor or wire along with a galvanometer. So here if you notice, you see there's a galvanometer that's connected to a wire, fine. There's another wire that is connected to a battery which is generating its own current. But when that device or wire that is connected to this battery is brought closer to this wire out here, the galvanometer shows deflection. In this case, what is different from the previous experiment is the magnet is replaced by the current carrying conductor. So what did Michael Faraday conclude from this experiment? Accordingly, he concluded that current is induced in a coil when a current carrying conductor is brought in its vicinity. Similarly, like the magnet, when the magnet is brought closer to the coil, there is a deflection in the galvanometer, right? Here it is when a current is induced in a coil, current is induced in this particular coil when this current carrying conductor is brought closer to it. What happens in the third experiment? In the third experiment, if you look over here, it's taken a wire, is a current carrying conductor and a galvanometer. Okay, now this is a coil of wire which is connected to a galvanometer here, and there is another current carrying conductor. This is the battery. But the difference between this one and the previous one is that this is not moved. This is just kept closer to this wire. Do not move the current carrying conductor, keep it stationary. So this is left stationary, not moving. In that case, we were bringing it closer to the coil connected to the galvanometer. Here it is not moved at all. The galvanometer will move to indicate the current in the wire. So when this particular current carrying conductor is placed close to this coil, this loop which is connected to the galvanometer will show instant deflection. Mind you, the current carrying conductor is not moving. Okay, so in general the current carrying conductor or magnet is called primary coil. This one is called primary coil, and the conductor in which the current is induced is called secondary coil. So this would be the secondary coil in which the current is induced by this current carrying conductor. So what did Michael Faraday conclude from this experiment? He said that relative motion between the current carrying conductor and the wire is not mandatory. It means, in other words, for inducing current in the wire. What it means is, in the previous two experiments, we were moving either the magnet or the current carrying conductor closer to the coil in which we had to induce current. We were moving in and out, right? In this case, there is no movement at all of current carrying conductor. In fact, the two are kept just close to each other. That's all. And even though it is kept closer to each other, we see that there is a current that is being generated. And how can we find out that there is a current being generated in this coil of wire? Because there is a deflection in the galvanometer. The galvanometer is precisely engineered to detect any flow of current, especially when the electricity or current is induced via a magnetic field. So that clearly shows you that current has got a certain amount of magnetic field that it induces or uh, influences the way or the other conductor moves. But it has to be a conductor of current, right? You can't have a non-conductor in place and say the experiment has failed. In all the experiments, there were current carrying conductors, because to detect whether the current is flowing through or not, first of all you need to have a device, or you need to have a material which allows current to pass through, and only if current can pass through we can detect it using a galvanometer. So that is exactly what it was done in this three cases of, or these three experiments of Faraday. So ultimately what did Faraday conclude? So he concluded that as the current in the primary coil changes, the magnetic field associated with it also changes. This we saw in Faraday's first experiment, wherein uh, the in when the current was passed through, the magnetic field changed, and the intensity of the current, or the amount of current that flowed through the conductor generated influenced the generation of the magnetic field. Larger the current, more was the magnetic field, and more was the current induced in the coil that was close to it. Then the magnetic field associated with the secondary coil also changes, and this causes the current. We know about the primary coil and the secondary coil. Okay, so we see that magnetic field associated with the secondary coil also changes, and that results in the flow of current. Now this process by which a changing magnetic field in a conductor induces a current in another conductor is called electromagnetic induction. Okay, so one conductor which is carrying current influences or induces current in another conductor because of its magnetic field. There is a magnetic field generated around that conductor which is carrying current, and that magnetic field induces current in another conductor, and this phenomenon is known as electromagnetic induction, and direction of the current is given by Fleming's right hand rule. So this is different from Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's right hand rule and left hand rule are the same, except one you hold it in left hand, one is in right hand, and of course it was also again invented by John Ambrose Fleming, and we'll learn about this Fleming's right hand rule in the next video. All you need to know is the electric motor runs on Fleming's left hand rule, whereas the electric generator runs on Fleming's right hand rule, and we'll also learn about the electric generator in the next video. But this is all for today in this video. So in this video we have learned about electromagnetic induction, how a current carrying conductor, because of its magnetic field, induces current in another conductor. Okay, if you like watching this video, hit the like button. Please share it with your friends and classmates. Do not forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive updates. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.